It came upon the midnight clear, that glorious song of old, from angels bending near the earth to touch their harps of gold. As a little boy growing up Roman Catholic, I would always get chills when we sang those lyrics at the 7 p.m. Christmas Eve Mass at St. Elizabeth's Church in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The scene those lyrics painted of an ancient song carried by winged messengers into a human world hushed was spiritually vivid. Peace on the earth, goodwill. From heaven the news we bring. The world in solemn stillness lay to hear the angels sing. As a Unitarian Universalist minister, I still get chills when I hear those words because it speaks of the world we are still trying to create here on earth. Peace, goodwill to all, not a chosen few. But as a Unitarian Universalist, I also feel great pride when I sing these words, because the lyrics of this beloved Christmas carol were written by a Unitarian, lyrics that are now an indelible part of any Christmas season. But in good Unitarian fashion, those lyrics were considered controversial, if not heretical, to many of the people who first heard or sang them. This is the history. The Reverend Edmund Sears was serving as pastor to a small Unitarian congregation out in the quiet countryside of Wayland, Massachusetts, a 3-hour horseback ride from Boston. The year is 1849. It's December, and it has been a difficult and divisive year in the United States. Do those words sound familiar to us? So this was the United States, 1849. The country is still reeling from the United States invasion of Mexico and the subsequent war, which ended just a year prior. The war was intended to expand Southern slavery westward into new land grabbed from Mexico, including California, Utah, Nevada, and Arizona. After a bruising political campaign and presidential campaign, the president who enabled this miscarriage of justice was defeated, and there was a brand new occupant in the White House, President Zachary Taylor, who himself owns slaves. The country is in the wake of a natural disaster, a massive flooding of New Orleans, even as a third wave of the worldwide cholera pandemic took thousands of lives from New York City to St. Louis. 7 months prior to December 1949, there had been a deadly rioting in the streets of New York, brought on by anti-immigrant sentiment and a sense of a growing disparity between the wealthy and the working class who were feeling shut out of the American dream. The military was called in, and, according to the world's greatest source, Wikipedia, the deadliest use of military force since the Revolutionary War was used against American citizens. In that December of 1849, political tensions were propelling the country closer to civil war as conservatives and liberals battled back and forth about whether black people should be treated as property or people. Just 2 months prior, in October, the country was shocked when abolitionist John Brown led an attack on the U.S. Armory at Harper's Ferry, Virginia, in an attempt to get guns to unleash a slave revolt in the southern states. The media coverage called the attack an insurrection, a rebellion, an act of treason. All of this was weighing heavily on the heart and mind of Reverend Edmund Sears as he sat down to write Christmas words that would address the state of the country and soothe the worn and weary souls in his congregation who he knew would gather together on Christmas Eve. And so he penned lyrics voicing his opposition to war, slavery, and the racial violence of the year. It came upon a midnight clear, that glorious song of old, from angels bending near the earth to touch their harps of gold. But with the woes of war and strife, the world hath suffered long. Beneath the angel strain have rolled 2,000 years of wrong. And we who fight the wars hear not the love song which they bring. Oh, hush the noise of battle strife. Hear the angels sing. This Unitarian Christmas carol was controversial for being anti-war at a time when the majority of the country supported an invasion that had just stolen land from Mexico. But it was also controversial for being a Christmas carol that never mentioned the baby Jesus or his birth. It was criticized for being too human-centered. Sears had written a carol that said peace on earth would only come from human beings changing their earthly behavior. Peace on earth, goodwill to all, didn't come from the salvation brought by a divine child, but through human choice. Unitarian minister Edmund Sears had written a Christmas carol that was humanist in perspective. It was shocking, it was heretical, it was wonderfully Unitarian Universalist. So, let's remain seated and sing together our anti-slavery, pro-racial justice, anti-war, pro-peace, humanist, 100% Unitarian Universalist Christmas carol, written for people worn down by the incessant babble of violent and dehumanizing political rhetoric, people who are weary and sad at the state of their country. It is as if he wrote it for us in 2021.